sure you'll agree, that was a tremendously fancy intro. These are the benefits you get. Now I've hit 1,000 subscribers, just shelling out like that. Production value through the roof. I have had a lot of requests for what people are calling part 2 of my module list, which I think I posted about 9 months ago. Some of the comments have become increasingly abusive that I haven't provided this. The difficulty is, and the reality of it is Foundry is so new and modules come out so quickly that by the time I finish making volume 1 of a video like that, I might have got rid of some of those modules, I might have changed them out. There's videos I've updated in the last month of modules I thought were great that I've then, since using it, realised this isn't working for me, and I've removed. So part 2 of a list like that doesn't really work. So I'm basically going to go with part 1 again. This is going to be an updated look at the modules that I use. Last night when I looked, I used about 105 modules. I've trimmed some down. But we're not going to go through all of them. The problem is, you've seen my videos. If my videos are 5 to 15 minutes long per module, and there's 100 modules I've got installed, Jesus Christ, it'd be a very long video. So a lot of the modules you're going to see, I'm going to say, I've already got a video for that, check it out. A few of them, I'm going to tell you that I'm not touching because I'm doing an updated video soon, maybe straight after this. I'm looking at doing another pass video through dynamic effects. I feel like last time I did a video on it, I maybe didn't understand it as well as I should have to make that video. So I want to look at that again. At the same time, I'm going to be talking about the module autocomplete inline properties, which sounds like some weird jargony stuff, but it's very helpful. And also the active auras module as well. So those are 3 modules that I'm going to kind of skim over. So I'm just going to kind of do this video live, I guess. Let's go to manage modules and see what I've got. Now, a few of these as well. Oh, by the way, this horrific map is the Mad Cartographer's purple penis map. Oh, purple worm. Definitely a penis. But this is his purple worm adventure map, which he's just released, which looks absolutely horrific. I look forward to finding an excuse to stick it in Barovia. A lot of these modules, as you'll know, are dependency based. So sometimes there'll be things that you don't use, but another module requires them. Going from the top, Ace Library is just a dependency. Active auras. In fact, let me just check something else. No, I thought, yeah, it does give a description for some. I'll tab that back on if needed. Active auras is one of the modules I talked about before. I'll be doing a different video, a separate video on. That lets you take a dynamic effect and apply it in a radius around a character, for good or for bad. Obviously, lots of applications there for things like paladins. In fact, installing a module actually comes with some like SRD ones included and set up. But again, I've got a video for that. Ambient doors is handy. If I presume there's going to be no doors on this worm map. Let's have a look. No, it would be very strange if there were doors. Let me quickly jump to a different map to show you what that video does. What is a small, decently sized... Let's go to Death House. Always good to go to good old Death House. What ambient doors does, it's very, very handy if you've got the patience. If I double click on a door, it adds all these extra modules on where, in addition to the default door, open, close, lock and unlock sounds, you can point it to other sound files on your machine. So if you've downloaded, great big double doors for Argon, Vost and Curse of Strahd, or a sliding, scraping stone door for a secret hallway, you can add all that in there. I like that. I don't use it as much as I should. Animated spell effects adds in some features to let you add in textures for animated spells. Of course, this guy hasn't got any spells. Does Edna the Elf have any spells? Well, we're going to give Edna the... In fact, I'll go for why don't I go for a character who actually has spells? If we examine someone's spell, light isn't the right spell to use. But we now have... where's it go? I've picked a spell itself. Where's Fireball? Good old Fireball won't do us wrong. Third level spell. Oh, I'm still in second level. There we go, Fireball. It's gone. I've done something wrong here. Oh, I'm not in my usual world. Idiot me. There's normally an extra field in here. You've seen it in my other videos saying template texture, and that allows you to set the graphic for a spell animation. I know why that's not there, but it's not worth stopping the video for. That's normally there. Arm's Reach is a handy module, but my players find it quite annoying. What it does is let you put settings of how many feet or how many grid tiles, based on whatever map and gridding system you're using, the players have to be able to open a door. By default in Foundry, if you can see a door, you can open it even if you're 50 foot away. With this module, you have to be within 5 foot. One thing I would say about that module is it has a hotkey built in of the letter E, and you and your players will find as you're typing, if you ever hit E and you're not clicked in exactly the right area, errors will pop up saying no available door is within reach. So one of the first things I do when I enable that module is go in and disable that setting, because it seems to pop up all the time, particularly for me as a DM as I'm going around setting up maps. Autocomplete inline properties I will not talk about today because I'll be coming back another time and touching on that one. Better curses. That's something I need to do a full video on, really. I have not got as much into the macro side of Foundry as I should. I keep saying I need to get on it. My experience in the realms of macros is pretty much the same as my professional experience in Visual Basic, which is when I need it to do something, I Google what I need, find what somebody else has made, and copy and paste and change parts. Better Curses lets you take things like Hexblade's Curse. I believe within my campaign, my Hunter uses it for her Hunter's Mark. Let me have a look and see if there's anything set up there for Hunter's Mark with it. Oh, she's got it set as a spell. Hunter's Mark, normal. Let's have a look and see, is it set up to run a macro as an effect? It is. She has a temporary effect of, let's have a look here. Of course, dynamic effect. It's an owned effect. I will do a separate video on Better Curses. I feel like it deserves. It's complex enough that just fitting it in here wouldn't really do it justice. Better Target. I made a very brief. Oh no, Better Target is the one that just changes the appearance. So you'll know that default target reticle in Foundry is the little yellow triangles in each corner. With Better Target, it's a nice big red crosshair. It's a bit more modern than I'd normally like, but I found I was missing the little yellow arrows so often that that's a very straightforward, easy win for me. Chat scrolling. The chat will, I think that might actually be baseline now. I need to check into that. The chat did not used to scroll down with your players, and you're having to come in and scroll down. Fairly certain that's baseline. I will check, and if so, I will remove that. Code Mirror is a dependency. Combat Focus, I've done a video on. That is the module that mixes, well, it combines your combat tracker with the chat output, so you're not having to pop open a separate window. Downside to that, obviously, is you get a smaller combat log and a smaller chat box, but I find that I did a one-shot the other week but didn't use that, and it was really jarring for me to have to go back to having 2 tabs. That's a really, really good one. Combat Tracker Effect Icon Tooltips. You will be surprised, unsurprised to learn, I'm sure, that means if an actor in combat has an effect, the effect also appears in the combat tracker. Too short for me to even justify doing one of my 2-minute videos on. If they have an effect icon, it shows in the combat tracker. It's handy for you when you're looking down and there's 10 walls and you want to remember which one's been knocked prone. Combat Utility Belt, I have done a video for. That's an extensive module that contains a lot of features. My favourite of which is Concentrator, which tracks whether if you have a concentration spell up and you take damage, it automatically prompts the concentration check, and it can output that to a number of modules. Got my own video for that. That's another larger one. Community Lighten, I have done a video on before, and it pops up in a few of my Lighten videos. This just gives you extra features when it comes to light sources. If I go in and have a look, you'll see in your animation types, these are the default ones. Everything after this is part of this module. And some of them have extra functionality. If you look at my recent lighting video, you'll see that there's ones in there that communicate with Blitz soundboard. That's how I did things like in upstairs in Death House. I had my lightning outside a window, causing the light to flash on when I played a thunder sound effect. I find that absolutely invaluable. Compendium folders, a very nice little module that puts your compendiums into smarter collapsible categories and lets you rearrange them. So that's another one that I can't do without these days. Crashes, tracking, and training. I think that's been renamed. I'm sure that used to be called downtime. I think downtime is now gone. Yes, so let me show you what this is. This lets you set within your character, in the downtime tab, you can create events, and you can just, this is purely for like RP really, or I've got in there different setups so that my players can, my player knows that he needs to spend this many hours transcribing particular spell books he found. As he rests on it in a downtime, I can come in and we can you can choose if you roll on it, if it's just flat time, and set that up. So that is just pure sort of RP fluff. My character in this player's campaign, where he's the DM, this is the Mad Cartographer who made that worm map. He gave me a load of just fluff books, and I've just set them all up as items, and I'll just keep rolling on them and reading on them. Curse of Strahd stuff, that is not a proper module. One of my players, his character and all his macros and his features, he basically, to avoid having to keep importing a character, he basically made his character a module. So that is not an official module. That's something one of my players made. Dice So Nice, I definitely covered before. Dice So Nice is the module that lets you customize what your dice look like. Visual effects, you can have them do fancy things. You can change texture, color, material the dice is made out of. You can set visual and audio effects if they get certain dice rolls. That's a whole thing. Dice Tray adds these icons to the bottom for quick access. I find them very useful. Weirdly, even though they're there, I'll still quite often find myself typing like 1/RD6. I have no idea why. It's just me being an idiot. D&D 5e helpers, I've made a video on before. That is the module that automates a few things. I particularly like that it does regeneration and undead constitution. I always say it, undead fortitude, for when zombies, I don't think skeletons, when zombies hit 0 HP, can they cling on with 1 HP? It's got other features beyond that. I believe there's a lot for wild magic as well. I think it's wild magic. Let me just double check while I'm here. Let's have a look. D&D 5e helpers. Oh yeah, I saw as a feature it can apply cover automatically now based on walls. I've not explored that yet. If I try that out and like it, I'll make a separate video on that. Yeah, so we've got wild magic and chaos detectors, and then that's the other thing it does that I absolutely love. You can have it indicate if reaction's been used. I don't like that too much, but it can prompt you for lair actions and for legendary actions. For legendary actions, I find really, really helpful. I'm quite guilty of getting to the end of a round and realising I didn't burn any legendary actions. So yeah, that's a very, very useful module. Next up, we have Easy Target. I made a very quick video on this recently. This is the one that just lets you, as a DM, hold down, I think it was Alt when you click. You can now just Alt Target, which is much quicker as a DM than right-click, Target, and then go and click away to clear that menu. So yeah, Alt, fantastic module. Where are we up to? Expander, if I remember rightly, Expander just lets you open up some window. It's this, I think. I think this is Expander that lets you just click to zoom out. I think this is now also built into the module that I'm using here. Let me just see if that's explained. I don't want to forget. It's a problem with so many modules. Expands the sidebar when you click on the chat icon. So yeah, I was wrong. It wasn't that one. That is this one up here. Collapse or expand. If you don't want it all the time, you can do that and expand your side menu in and out. I've been quite guilty of being in a situation where my players say, oh, can we get this module? Sure, put it on. So for a mod, and this is why I think everyone should play with base raw Foundry for a while. It's very easy for you to not know what's Foundry and what's your modules, and to have a feature and not know which module it comes from. I've definitely been in that situation myself, as you've just seen. Where were we? We're up to Expander. Forian's Quest Log, a module I really like. I kind of found it a bit too late in my campaign for it to be very useful, but I will definitely use it next campaign. In your journal log, you've got a quest log button, and in here you can create, set up full quests. Curse of Strahd spoilers about to happen if I click on one of these and open it up. And you'll see it opens up and gives quest description. If you want to, you can add individual objectives. You can make it so the objective appears on the screen and is being tracked, and it hovers up there for the players. I've started using that in another one of my campaigns. And you can drag rewards on here, which the campaign I'm running isn't really that sort of campaign. It's a bit too World of Warcrafty, that one, but you could absolutely do it if you wanted to have some quests available for, you know, the bounty board in a tavern, and you saw, you know, the reward is 500 gold, have 500 gold on there, the players can see it. Also lets you facilitate GM notes and then some extra settings for yourself. FX Master I've covered before. This is an invaluable mod for atmospherics. Lets you set weather and spell effects on your map, as well as some filters. So the filters are quite heavy-handed, like a big underwater effect, a old static TV effect, old film filter style, and bloom. Can't remember what bloom does. Oh, that's just solar flare, I guess, sort of effect. It's also got a lot of features in there for spellcasts, although I don't really like these. I used to use there's one I used to use a lot, the Sacred Flame, for my cleric, but they seem to just remove that. I'm not really sure why. And the weather effects I use enormously. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll have seen about effects, you know, bats flying around indoor, fog. I mean, playing the Curse of Strahd campaign in winter, snow and fog, as I'm sure you can imagine, I use constantly. GM notes gives you on most fields within Foundry an option. I don't think this is one that actually has it. How typical is that? If I go into like an item, poll, it's not one in here either. How annoying. You saw before in the module, it adds to a lot of areas GM notes, where you can go in and, where are my GM notes? It's gone from everything. Oh, it used to say GM notes. They've now, this is either part of the module or because I have so many modules, they've just reduced it down to a clipboard. So this shows, yeah, that's a different module. So you have the clipboard by itself tabs to GM notes. So I bet you it was on that poll item I looked at, wasn't it? I just didn't notice. Yeah, clipboard here by itself, GM notes. So any actor, any item, any spell, you can have your own notes off to the side that your players can't see. Save you having to tab out to another resource like, you know, OneNote. GM screen, I've done a video on before. I really like GM screen. Lets you add in journal entries or images that you can tab up as a quick reference. I like to have rules for things that might be relevant at the moment. On the video where I talk about this, I have ones for, you know, all the different weather and environmental effects that players might find going up the Selenka Pass. And then I like to keep one being just table rulings, things that come up end up being homebrew or that happen in my sessions we make a judgment call on. I like to keep a log of, so if it comes up again, because I always think, you know, it's fine to make a table ruling, but be consistent with it. We always put it in here, and then we can refer back to it. Grid scale menu, I don't remember. I've not got it enabled anymore. I don't know. Hey Wait. Hey Wait is a great module. I covered this in a video a while ago, and I had a bit of a bug in the video with it. The mod developer actually reached out to me. It's the first time I've been contacted by a mod developer to have a chat about the module. and the issues we found with it. It looks like, from talking and testing with them, it was very, very helpful. It looks like it was a problem on my end, probably a conflict with another module, but it actually works. He gave me some steps to try and recreated it, and it's worked brilliant for me. That module, if you haven't seen my other video, lets you designate areas sort of on the floor. Well, you can draw out a square, and when a player enters it, it will pause the game and it will pan to them. And you can also set different effects now to have it do sort of, alert or question mark intrigue noises, or just have it pause. It's very, very handy if you've got overzealous players who, try to run ahead while you've got narrative you still want to read, or if you want to get through that boss monologue, or if they've set a trap off, but you don't want them to run past it into the next room and see there's a skeleton waiting. This will just lock the game down and give you a chance to speak. Hide GM roles. I can't remember why I put it on, but I've not had it in ages. I tend to do the vast majority of my roles public. That module just gives you some options to completely hide them from your players to the point where they don't even see a roll has happened, but I tend not to fudge my dice. Elandril's hotbar uses. This is a module, if I remember rightly, that just shows if you have an item dragged down onto the hotbar, it will show the number of that item remaining. I think my hunter just has that on for her arrows. Let me just double check. That's another one that I was just kind of told to put on. Yeah, it shows the number of items uses left for hotbar items. So I personally haven't used that much as a DM. I imagine if you are a player, or if you have a player who is someone who uses like ranged weapons or throwing daggers, goes through a lot of potions, they might appreciate having that so they can see their usage going down. Inventory Plus, I have done a video on before. That is the module that lets you set different groups and categories within your bags. So this is an NPC I made, a player character I made called The Party. And in their inventory tab, I used Inventory Plus to make a number of different sections just to group together their loot and the different areas of their bag of holding. Item containers is a module I don't use anymore. I really liked item containers before I got Inventory Plus, but I'm scared to uninstall it. Item containers is the one that lets you designate an item as a container, and then in the details tab of that, you can add another load of items. So you can make an item that's a bag, and in that bag have a load of other items. I found it really clunky. I used it because there was nothing better at the time. And I have a few sort of treasure piles and hoards and items from my Curse of Strahd game which are set up like that, and I've not found them all. Every time I think I've got them all, I'll find a new one. So I don't want to remove that module in case I delete a load of items from my game by accident, but I will not be using that going forward. So although I have that installed, I don't particularly recommend item containers now that Inventory Plus is here. Let me roll that for you. I've talked about before, that lets you prompt and request dice rolls from your players. It ties in with loads of other modules. I use MIDI QOL for most of my combat automation. That's great. I can cast a spell that causes a saving throw, and it'll look and see who's targeted, and it will prompt them for the correct saving throw. You can also just ad hoc do one. So I would normally say, if I'm just talking to my players and they try to lie to the guards to get in, I'll just tell them to make a deception check. But if you wanted to, you could highlight the player, go to the dice icon of request roll, choose who you want to request a roll for, go through the modifiers, choose what ability check or skill. I would rather. I don't think I've ever used this side of it, but I really enjoy the fact that it prompts players through combat. Let's Trade 5e is very handy. If I go into the inventory, my players can then go to an item and go send to player. What I like about that is it will remove it from their inventory. So no more, DM, can you please drag this to this person? Has it gone over yet? Okay, then I'll delete my version from that. Now you can just send it. I find that particularly useful when my players all have an access to the party. It means they can effectively go and take things out of the bag of holding or put things into the bag of holding They can, and it doesn't go into the exact right category, but then they're able to move it. What do we have next? Lib color settings and lib wrapper are both dependencies. They're just needed by other modules. I don't touch them. Lock view is very specialist. It stops the map. You can choose on any scene to lock the view. I can't remember how. Oh, you have to do it. You have to do it somewhere else. Yeah, you can lock the view so it can't be zoomed or panned. The only reason I even have that installed is for my splash screen. So my players, when it doesn't really work, it doesn't look the same for you in Foundry as it does for a player. But when my players join and they go straight to the home page, they can't do all this with it. It's not treated like a scene they can drag about. It is locked in like a home page, like a splash page, a home page. That's the only my 4 homepage tile, my welcome screen, like splash tiles. Those are the only scenes I've ever used that on. It's I need to do this specific thing. Here's a module for it. I don't touch it for anything else. Loot sheet NPC 5e. I've done a video on that before. I think that's actually my video with the highest views and also the most abusive complaints about low resolution because I didn't have a very good setup for recording then. I had Streamlabs, but I didn't know how to capture in a higher resolution, so it's like 480p. Yeah, that lets you set an NPC's character sheet to be in a shop vendor. I've got a whole other video on that. Macro editor is the Foundry equivalent of Notepad++. It just lets you go in and get a better sort of breakdown for editing complex macros. Macro folders adds a macro folder into the compendium, a macro section, so you can store your own macros in there. Math.js is a dependency. Mess, I don't use anymore. I used to use Mess for a lot of its combat enhancing features. What I've found is MIDI QOL has done a lot of it better. And also D&D 5e helpers. So although that's still installed, I don't really use that. That's bad timing. I forgot to mute Streamlabs and someone subscribed to my YouTube channel, but we're 27 minutes in, so I'm not restarting that. I'll just turn it down, sorry. MIDI QOL, I think I already have a video for. If I don't, I'll make a whole video for it because I could probably do a 45-minute video just on that. Multi-level tokens, I've done a video on before. That sorts out stairs and also, looking out down over a balcony and seeing players below. Music Assist, I can't remember what Music Assist. Oh, Music Assist is the one that when you have sound files playing, it will show them up at the top. So you don't have to scroll down and cancel individual things. At any time, you can look and see what's in. I need to look at that again. With the new version of Foundry bringing some sound updates, I don't know what that will change out. Oh yeah, it also lets you, I don't really use this, but it's useful if you've forgotten something in your mid-session. You can also add a sound in just from a YouTube URL. So you can just, in the middle of a session, without having to download any files or relaunch anything, you can go straight into a sound. My tab, I have no idea. What's my tab? What's it say? Change the title and the icon on the standard mouse of your browser tab. Oh yeah, I think that's one I meant to test, but I've enabled it and not put on. You can make it so your players have a different Foundry icon in the taskbar, a different title, and also the mouse cursor. There's like a selection of 10, 15 different mice you can choose. Yeah, I'll give that a try. If I find it interesting, I might do a quick video on that in the future. Next up, I've done a video for, that's the one that as it gets to each actor's turn in combat, it will close any other sheets and it will open up the sheet for that person. So you're not going to have your cultists, accidentally cast spells that they should be tapped on slots for or from a range they shouldn't be able to because you had 10 cultists on the map and you picked the wrong one. What I have found with that module, a bit irritating, is I'm someone who, when an enemy dies, I'll tend to delete, unless the players say non-lethal, I'll tend to just delete it off the map, so my players can step over things. If you do that, and if you delete something and interrupt the combat order, the module gets really confused and starts to open up different character sheets that it thinks might be next, which I find really annoying. Party overview, I don't think my group have ever used. Just adds this button up here in your actors tab. I have nobody on the map at the moment. Let me just add in. Oops. Oh no, we're not going to almost polymorph the cleric into the cleric then. Let me just add my players on, because I think it goes off who's on the map at the moment. Yeah, just shows me who's in my party. I can choose to see them or hide them. It shows what their, if you have inspiration, what the current HP is, AC, passive perception, passive investigation, passive insight, and passive stealth. I suppose it's useful. I'd find that useful as a player, seeing what my companions have. I don't think I've ever heard my group mention it. Maybe they don't even know it's there. I'll have to ask them next week. Permission viewer, I went ages without having this, but I kept seeing loads of videos from different people, like other YouTube creators, and thinking, what are these coloured dots and squares I can see? This is permission viewer. Your players obviously set their own colour in Foundry. This shows you who has access to different things. So my players each have control of themselves. Halvor also has this wolf companion, so he has access to it. All of the group have access to the party. So they all show up in there. Don't know who the pink one is. Who knows? So yeah, that's very useful as having a quick visual, particularly for things that you worry might be spoilers. My journal entries. Can my players see that journal entry? Oh no, good, they can't. Whereas the ones that I've shared them before, they do show up here. My landing page articles, you'll see here. By default, we all have access to everything, but the players then have access to their own individual note pages. So yeah, I really like that. Pincushion. I might not have talked about it, but you've seen Pincushion before on my Vallaki town map video. Pincushion just gives you a larger selection of pins you can put onto a map. It's not really worth its own video for, but it's useful enough. Pings. I think pings might be baseline now. I'm not sure. Pings is fantastic. I hate that Foundry defaults to having everyone's mouse cursor visible. You join a new map and it's like that one day of a year of the flying ants come out zooming around your screen. Pings is just you click and hold for a second, and in your colour, it makes a little ping like that. It's absolutely invaluable. I love it. I think it's baseline. I need to take a swig of drink. Playlist importer. I've grumbled in many videos that I don't like how the audio set up in Foundry is. They keep saying they're changing it. I'm looking forward to the new version to see if I can finally stop complaining or realistically find something new to complain about. Playlist importer is a module I tried a while ago, about a year ago now, that I hoped would bring my sound files in quicker. Unfortunately, you just point it at a directory and it imports all of them. They still need renaming, they still need sorting. And I don't think, if I remember rightly, although I should update it and check, I've not checked in about a year, at the time, you couldn't import, these 5 tracks straight into this one playlist. I suppose I do owe it to that module to go back and check. So if that has now improved, you'll see a video on that soon. Pop out and pop out resizer are the module that is useless to DMs but fantastic to players. It gives almost every window this pop out button at the top, which as I click it now, you'll see you get an error that basically says can't pop out from a program, can only pop out from a web browser. If your players can click on pop out, it will make a new browser window with those contents in, so they could arguably have their character sheet over on this monitor and be watching combat here. I have seen a lot of people complain that if you do use modules to help with combat, and presumably other modules out there will have the same conflict, rolling things from a pop-out sheet, from a pop-out character sheet, quite often causes problems or doesn't work properly. Some of the automation doesn't work. I know my cleric had that issue. He was probably doing it wrong. And pop-out resizer, try and act surprised, lets you resize the pop-out window. Query, I do not remember what query does. Let's take a look. Very basic modules to implement role queries into macros and chat. Oh yeah, I think this is the thing that lets me type what r slash 1d6 earlier. I forgot about that. Screen transitions, I've done a video on before. That's what lets you set a sort of fade effect. I think I cover that in the same video that I go through hey wait as well. Settings, extend that. I also can't remember. Extend the settings menu. Oh yeah, that's the one that adds more local and like graphic settings to the settings menu. It basically adds more settings, advanced settings, kind of. Show artwork is a module that I'm always amazed isn't baseline yet. If I go to someone, I go to anybody, I have the option to, where's it gone? That was it. If I right click, I can go show portrait or show token, and it will show my players the token. I like that I can also do it from the menu as well. So if I have a few zombies on the map, I can then also go, or wolves. Instead of opening one up, I can just go, yeah, here's, view character artwork. You see a wolf, I can click show players. And I think if I had my players on, it would pop up a prompt saying, do you want to show this to everyone on the scene? Only characters you have selected. Only characters that have a token on the map, I think, are the options. Show drag distance. I've done a very quick video on this before. I won't work on this map because I don't think there is a grid. Let's go back to where's that purple worm map? I was enjoying that. Delightfully phallic. Let's have a look. Purple worm. There we go. You'll see that it shows distance we can be moving. There are settings in there as well you can do that will have it change to a different color when it goes past their normal travel distance. So you can see what is regular movement, what is dash. Where are we up to? Simple calendar, I did a video on very recently. I won't go through that again. Sky's alternate Dungeons and Dragons sheet is just a different character sheet. I don't think I use that anymore because I absolutely love tidy sheets. So I should probably uninstall that. SocketLib is a dependency. Sortable.js is a dependency. Soundboard by Blitz and the extra additionals for there I have done separate videos for on sound. Spell Template Manager, I don't remember. Oh, Spell Template Manager is the one where I really like this. It's been great for me. At the end, if a spell doesn't have a duration, or when it runs out, if it does, at the end of that turn, it will prompt, do you want to clear any templates away? So essentially, for me as a DM, if I have someone shooting off fireballs or fog clouds, as soon as it gets to the end of a turn, it'll say, do you want to delete that template? And obviously, if it's a fireball, you say yes. If it's something that's going to linger, like a cloud kill, I think cloud kill sticks around, you can say, nope, leave it there. It's just a time save. Not a time saver. It reduces DM fiddling in the middle of combat. You're trying to go through, you're moving invisible tokens, players are making up, asking awkward questions. You have to think, maybe you're looking something up on Roll20, and then you've got a player going, oh, I can't move here because it was fireball. Oh, yeah, 1 second. Got to go and click and change over to the template tab to go and get this. Just gets rid of it, or asks you if you want to get rid of it, which is better. The furnace, I've done another video on. I think it's too big to cover and miss. If I haven't, I'll do a video on that. I've got a load of Mad Cartographer map packs. They're not modules, they're just map packs from a Patreon I bought into. I'm not going to plug him. I plug him enough. He doesn't deserve the amount of plugging I get him. He should be paying me. So nothing. For his purple chipolata. He's overcompensating. Tidy 5e sheet is the character sheet I swear by these days. Look at it. It's beautiful. I love it. I've done a video on that before. Tidy UI just kind of trims up and sorts out your UI a little bit, makes it a little bit neater, a little bit more minimalist. Times Up, I think, is one that I think that might not be working in my campaign because I've removed about time. Time Up. Oh yeah, active expiration. That ties in with some of the active effect stuff I've got, whereby you can have someone choose to run out after an amount of time, and if there's an effect associated, the effect will end. I removed about time. I think I'll get it back when I get into more advanced macros, like any macros and combat automation. I love a lot of Foundry's features, but I don't think combat should be entirely automated. I think it is an important part of the fun for players participating. The level of automation I like is I attack you, The game does all the automation of whether that hits or not. Doesn't apply damage straight away, because I like the players to go, oh, yeah, okay, that hits, but I would like to use this reaction or do this or do that, and then I will choose to click damage. That's my preferred way of doing it. Token Action HUD, I've done a video on before. That is the module that gives you, when you click on a player, it's not doing it because I don't control them, but normally gives you the little list of options at the top and the drop-down menus. I've done a video on it previously. Token Attacher. I've not done a video on Token Attacher before. That's a bit too long for what I wanted to do in this video. The reason I have it installed is because some of the Mad Cartographer maps make use of it for automatic features. But as you'll see here, it lets you attach anything to anything. You can move a token with another token. If someone's carrying somebody, you can have an item asset or a picture move with them. You can have a sound move with them. You can have near enough anything. That deserves its own video. Token Audio. Curse of Strahd spoilers coming up in the next sort of minute. That lets you have a creature and choose for a sound effect to travel with it. I was going to use that for Curse of Strahd. As you'll know, there is an NPC who has an aura of screams around them. I chose not to use that in my campaign anyway. But had I gone ahead with it, that module would have been fantastic. I've tried using it before for things like, horrible little skittering, chittering noises from giant spiders when my players get too close, but suddenly like, whoa, I don't like that. Token HUD wildcard, I shouldn't have installed. I put that on the other day trying to test something out and decided not to go with it. So if I ever revisit that in the future, I'll do another video on that, but I've not really touched it. Token info icons. I think this is one of those modules that I always fail to notice because I'm so used to it. But if I right click, in addition to the usual options, I can see their walk, swim, that's got to be climb. I don't know why 2 lines means climb. Their AC and their passive perception. I think you can change it in the settings so it happens on a left click as well, or maybe so it's always there. That can be handy. If you're not using me, as you'll know, my campaign's almost 3 years long, so I've got a lot of my players' values bloody memorized, but with this, that could be very, very useful if you're still getting used to your group. Token magic effects. I will touch on that on the video I do about dynamic effects, mainly because I started using it at the same time. That essentially just adds in the list of active effects some visual effects you can just choose from. It's quite a big list. For example, one of them is for the token to start sort of like concentric circle shimmering around itself. I've set that as an effect of, when Esmeralda casts Mirror Image in Curse of Strahd, she now sort of shimmers while that effect is active. Just cool visual stuff. Trigger Happy is an immensely complex module. I have not done a video on it for the sole reason of when I wanted to learn how to use it for my homepage, I found there were so many people who've done videos on it. What's the point me doing it as well? Their videos were perfectly functional. They taught me how to use it. And yeah, as a very quick summary, it lets you set an NPC. All of these, and it doesn't really work for DMs, but I'm not going to go and open a web browser to show you. Each of these buttons is an NPC with an invisible token, a transparent token that I've resized to cover all the words. And with Trigger Happy, you can set it so that when you click on an NPC, it activates whatever is written in the journal entry named for that NPC. Mainly macros. So for my homepage, for example, if someone clicks on the token quest log, it will open up the quest log. These are all the buttons that makes my homepage work. You'll see, without going into Trigger Happy, you'll see that if on the landing page someone clicks on the actor landing Bart, it will open Bart Andalus's character sheet. So all my different Tarokka cards. On the Tarokka page, if they click on the Tarokka Mists card, it will open the journal entry I made for the Mists card. I'm not going to do a video on my homepage because it is entirely copied from someone else's work. Someone came onto the Curse of Strahd Discord, said, hey guys, look at this really good homepage I made. And me and every other care subscribed DM just went, I will take that, thank you. So it would be cheap of me to make a video covering it. Token tooltip alt, I've removed that because of a token info icons. I think that's the one that just does show it on a mouse over. Torch, I've made a video on before. I'm not going to cover torch. That's one that lets you set lights, torch settings that your players can toggle off and on, and it will use up the item called torch in their bag unless you rename it. And it is set to have, you know, predefined light, bright and dim light limits cast on. So if you are doing a cool exploration, every torch matters, your resources really count campaign, that can be very handy. Oh, I skipped down trigger happy, idiot. Trust issues. This is a handy module that will tell you if one of your players opens the dev tools up to try and sort of cheat in the console. I just have that because I'm paranoid and one of my players fiddles a lot with macros. Term marker, I've covered before in another video. It makes a nice, if you've probably seen it on this video, puts a very nice little display. We're not in combat, so it won't do it, but I've got a video. A big, impossible to miss glowing display. That also helps with the issue of, as you move through the combat tracker, not having the wrong cultist cast a spell. Tweak playlist is another one that gives you more playlist functionality. I think normally you have to right click and edit the tracks. You don't have these options with raw Foundry. Again, that's probably due to change. TwitchBot I've never used. I installed it because you'll know I streamed 2 of my campaigns, and at one point I thought I'd be able to use that for me to have. Which way around was it? I wanted to test and see if it was possible for me to get Twitch chat appearing in the game, but it's much more complex than that, so I didn't carry on with it. Voice actor, I've done a quick video with before that lets you go into an NPC, record a bit of dialogue, and then play it back to yourself. So if you want to remember what an NPC sounds like, you can use that. Zoom pan options, that is the one, I think that's also now baseline. That now makes you zoom in and out where your mouse cursor is. That wasn't baseline at one point. I feel like it now is. That is a quick, he says, coming up on an hour, run through of the, 95 modules I currently have active. There's no part 2 coming. I've covered all of them so that no one can say there's a part 2 missing or coming. Maybe in a year I'll do it again and I'll go through and see what's changed. A few videos highlighted there that have made me realise I could do with doing separate videos for them. So I'll do them soon. As ever, thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. If there's anything you want to see, any modules you want to touch on, and I will. But until then, thanks a lot. Take care. I'll see you later.